Before we start this conference, we will begin with a prayer. To you, Elfrisaris Monita, please lead the prayer. Okay.
Thank you. Jangan lupa thank you.
Dear God, thank you for all the blessings you have bestowed upon us. We are truly grateful for them. Thank you for allowing us today to meet and share our knowledge and time with one another in this webinar. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Elfrisa. Good morning, everyone. I'm delighted to welcome you all to the 5th English Letters Undergraduate Conference. My name is Ganesha Daniela, and I'm from English Letter Department, Class of 19, Universitas Sanata Dharma. It is an honor and precious chance for me to be your Master of Ceremony in this wonderful event on 18 September 2021. This year's English Letters Conference is under the theme of English Language and Literature as Media of Communication During Pandemic. English Letters Undergraduate Conference is an annual conference held by English Letters Academic Club from Universitas Sanata Dharma, which gathers students to express their academic knowledge related to English language and literature. Thank you for coming, the Honorable Mr. Hirmawan Wijanarka, Mr. Lutfi Argubi Purnomo, Ms. Katerina Brameswari, and all of the participants from Universitas Sanata Dharma, Universitas Trunojoyo, UIN Raden Mas Said Surakarta, Nakhon Sawan Rajabat University Thailand, Universitas Gunadarma, Universitas Udayana, Universitas Bengkulu, and Universitas Negeri Yogyakarta that I cannot mention one by one. First of all, let's say thanks to God who has been giving us guidance, happiness, health, and mercy, so we can attend and participate in this event without any obstacles. So how are you all? I hope all of you are in a good condition, healthy, and don't forget to be happy. Sadly, this year's ELUC conference had to be held online due to COVID-19. But of course, that's not a barrier for us to learn and gain knowledge from this event. Before we move to the conference, I will read the rundown. First, the welcoming speech from ELUC Chair Regina Dea Amanda. Second, a welcoming speech from the Dean of English Letter Department by Mr. Tatangis Karna. Third, documentation. Fourth, reading the rules of the webinar. Fifth, the first plenary session by our speaker, Mr. Lutfi Argubi Purnomo from UIN Raden Mas Said Surakarta. Sixth, the second plenary session by our speaker, Ms. Katerina Brameswari from Universitas Sanata Dharma. Next, question and answer session. And then eighth, the award for the best paper nomination. And next, closing speech from the head of English Letters Department, Mr. Hirmawan Wijanarka. And the last is ending prayer. Without further ado, we will begin this event with a welcoming speech from the head of committee, Regina Dea Amanda. Regina Dea, the screen is yours.
All right, thank you Vidi for the opportunity. I would like to remind everyone, kalau misalnya dipindahin kita ngomong thank you dan give it back to Vidi ya. Blah, 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 blah. I would like to thank the universe, grace, blessing, blah, 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 blah. Thank you for taking your time joining this event. It was our honor to have you all here. I also would like to give my gratitude to all of the ELUC committee that have already worked so hard and success for the success of ELUC 2021. And our companions, Membrane and Mem Almira, who always accompany the process of organizing the event. Although this year's event must be conducted online, but hopefully the participant will still able to enjoy and get knowledge from the plenary session that will be presented by Mr. Lutfi and Mrs. Bray. That's all from me. I apologize if there's mistake in my words that is less pleasing to you. With all of honor, please enjoy the event. Thank you. I give it back to Idi.
Okay, thank you so much, Regina Dea. Next, we will hear a welcoming speech from the Dean of Faculty of Letters, Mr. Tatangis Karna. Mr. Tatangis Karna, the screen is yours. Okay, thank you, Mr. Tatang, for the welcoming speech. All right, we will start the documentation session. We kindly ask all of the participants and committee to turn on the camera on your device. I will ask for help from the publication team to direct the participants and document this event.
Thank you, Vidi. Now I will lead the documentations. I'll start with slide 1. 1, 2, 3. Next, slide 2. 1, 2, 3. Done. Now I will give it back to Vidi. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And next, I will read out some of the rules that are conducted in this webinar. All participants are requested to maintain the netiquette and follow the rules. Right now, I have everyone on mute to avoid background noises that may distract you from listening to the webinar. First, please make sure that your microphone is off during the plenary session. If you would like to express something or ask a question, please use the hand feature during the question and answer session. Or you can write the question on the chat room in Zoom. If we cannot answer your question during this conference, we will summarize the response and send them to you afterwards. Second, please identify yourself. Before you start to speak, please state your name so we know who is talking. Third, please speak slowly and clearly. This is to make sure that everyone can follow your point in its entirety. And the last is, the Zoom chat room is only used to ask questions related to the presentation. Okay, right now we will enter the main session, which is moderated by Maurice Herbrata. Maurice is one of the outstanding students, and some of his achievements are as follows. The Brito High School Presidium from 2016 until 2018, Head of Missionaries of the Santa Maria Bunda Allah Church for the period 2016 until 2019, Treasurer of English Debate Society, Sanata Dharma for the period 2020 until 2021, Historypedia Novice Grand Finalist Debate Competition, Co-Ed Past Speaker Historypedia Debate Competition, and the last is Delegation of Kompetisi Debat Mahasiswa Indonesia 2021. And now we will move to the plenary session. Maurice, the screen is yours.
All right, thank you very much, Vidi. So good morning, participants. Let me introduce myself. My name is Maurice, and I will be serving as your moderator for today. First of all, I would like to thank all the presenters and participants for joining this conference. Before we start the presentation, I would like to let you know that there will be 2 speakers for this conference. For the first speaker, we have Mr. Lutfi Arkubi Purnomo from Universitas Islam Negeri Raden Mas Said Surakarta. Mr. Lutfi here is a lecturer in English Literature Universitas Islam Negeri Raden Mas Said Surakarta from the Department of English Literature, Faculty of Tarbiyah, Universitas Islam Negeri Raden Mas Said Surakarta. Mr. Lutfi's research of interest are linguistics, gaming translation, and social communication. For his education, he has Bachelor in English Literature from Universitas 11 Maret, Master degree in Translation Linguistics from Universitas 11 Maret, and Doctorate degree in Translation Linguistics from Universitas 11 Maret. So, good morning, Mr. Lutfi. How are you today? It's a pleasure to have you here with all of us here. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Lutfi, and we cannot wait for your presentation today. Okay, now for the second speaker, we have Ms. Katarina Brameswari from Universitas Sanata Dharma. Ms. Bray is a lecturer in English Letters Department from Universitas Sanata Dharma. Ms. Bray's fields of interest are post-colonialism, eco-criticism, culture and identity, and English education technology. For her education, she has English Education Study Program from Universitas Sanata Dharma and English Language Study Concentration in Literature from Universitas Sanata Dharma. Good morning, Ms. Bray. It's a pleasure to have you here with us in this conference. I hope that everything is well for you. Yes. Thank you very much, Ms. Bray, and we cannot wait for your presentation also. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this webinar is divided into 2 sessions. The first session is the presentation from both speakers, and later we will have the question and answer session. And without further ado, I would like to welcome the first presenter to deliver his presentation about Pika Pika, can there possibly be a quasi-translation? Wow, sounds interesting, right? All right, without further ado, Mr. Lutfi, the screen is yours. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Lutfi, for the wonderful presentation. I think it was really interesting that we learned about blah, 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 blah. And I hope the audience also enjoyed it as well. All right. It's time to move to the next speaker. The next presentation will be given by Ms. Bray. Without further ado, I would like to welcome the second speaker to deliver their presentation about social media literature works as media of communication during COVID-19 pandemic, right? This is something that is related in our situation right now. So without further ado, Ms. Bray, the screen is yours. All right, thank you very much, Ms. Bray, for the wonderful presentation. It was interesting that we learned about blah, 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 and blah, 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 blah. And I hope the audience also understand and enjoy it as well. All right, ladies and gentlemen, now we've come to the question and answer session. I will welcome 2 or 3 questions first, and if we still have time, we will answer the rest of the questions. Okay, for the audience, please raise your hand or write your question on the chat box, and please mention your name and which institution are you from and to whom the question is directed to before giving the question. All right, it seems that we already have some questions here, so I will choose 3 questions first. So the first question is about blah, 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 and it's directed to Ms. Bray. Ms. Bray, can you please answer the question? All right, thank you very much, Ms. Bray, and I hope it answered the question. And I hope it's clear. Okay, thank you very much for the informative and interesting talk, Mr. Lutfi and Ms. Bray. Hopefully the information which we have shared today will be useful for all of us. Thank you to all the audiences for your participation. Let me express my gratitude to all participants for your contribution for today's webinar. I would like to express my appreciation to the 2 speakers, Mr. Lutfi Arbi Purnomo from Universitas Islam Negeri Raden Mas Said Surakarta and Ms. Katarina Brameswari from Universitas Sanata Dharma for their dedicated efforts on a comprehensive report. I would also like to thank everyone who prepared for this conference. All their efforts contributed to the fruitful discussion that we have today. So that's all from me. Back to Fidi.
Okay, thank you, Maurice. Wow, what an interesting knowledge, right? So before the main session ends, we will announce the winner for the base paper. The base paper is judged based on the writing format, academic writing, similarity check, and plagiarism. For the base paper goes to Nadia Octaviana Pramana Putri from UIN Raden Mas Said Surakarta with the title of the paper, blah, blah, blah. And the plagiarism percentage is only 2%. And now I will read the abstract of the paper. Wow, that's a great paper, I think. From this paper, we could know a lot about blah, 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 and it gives us a new information about blah, blah, blah. I think that's all from the best paper nomination. Before we move to the last session, as a form of our gratitude and appreciation from the English Letters Undergraduate Conference for the presentation and knowledge that has been conveyed, we symbolically present certificate of appreciation to Mr. Lutfi and Ms. Bray. To Mr. Lutfi and Ms. Bray and Regina Dea as the head of the committee, I invite you to turn on the camera.
All right. Mr. Lutfi and Mrs. Bray, as the representation of the committee, I would like to gratefully deliver our appreciation because it is our honor to have Mr. Lutfi and Mrs. Bray as our case speakers in ELUC 2021. Thank you so much. It means a lot to us.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Lutfi, Ms. Bray, and Regina Dea. Before heading to the final session of this webinar, there will be a few words as the closing speech from Mr. Hirmawan Wijanarka as Head of Faculty of Letters. Dear Mr. Hirmawan, the screen is yours. Thank you, Mr. Hirmawan. And information about the proceeding is still in the ESBN process, and we will inform you when the proceeding is ready and send it to your email. For the participants, please fill the Google form. The link will be available on the chat box. All right, ladies and gentlemen, and finally we have passed this event together. On behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to say a big thank you to today's speaker, Mr. Lutfi and Ms. Bray, who have given and taught us all the knowledge. I also do not forget to thank the lecturers, committee, invited guests, and participants who have attended today's seminar, because without your support, this event will not run well and smoothly. Ladies and gentlemen, let us close the seminar with the theme English Language and Literature as Media of Communication during Pandemic this afternoon with a prayer. Hopefully, the knowledge we get today is useful for all of us. To you, Elfrisadis Monita, please lead the prayer.
Thank you, God, for this webinar we have just had. Thank you for the much blessings that you given us. We honor and praise you for the wonderful love you have for us. Thank you. Back to Fidi.
Okay, thank you, Elfrisadis Monita. And me, as a master of ceremony, apologize for any shortcomings and see you at the ELUC event next year.
Oke, maksudnya waktu ngomong kayak gini tuh.
Teman-teman boleh lihat ya, sudah selesai latihannya.